Good afternoon, all ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for joining me for our Microsoft Fast Learning webinar. Today, we're going to be focusing on My Analytics. For those of you that are joining for the first time, I'm just going to go through the house rules again, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, and also encourage a lot of people in here to actually turn on their videos. Cool. Just again, for those that are joining us for the first time, the purpose of these webinars are to obviously illustrate the value in the products that you're already paying for. That is through the Microsoft suite. And my role in this whole fast learning webinars is to ensure that you guys use the applications and the products to their fullest potential, and also in turn increase your productivity as well as build collaboration. From the top of my house rules over here, again, we always encourage people to turn on their cameras. We love seeing faces. And also, in most cases, I can pick up either facial gestures when I'm either digressing or maybe losing you in a conversation or a topic that I'm talking about. And again, yeah, like I see everyone's already got their mics muted, which is great. Please feel free to unmute your mic or raise your hand if you want to make a comment or anything like that. Again, we're using an application called Microsoft Teams, which allows you or gives you the option to comment or raise your hand. If you look, depending on your Teams version, the latest version, all your options are on the top right hand of your screen. All right, and as I always mention, I'd like to always make this an interactive session. So, and I would always like to keep it simple as well. So for that, with regards to that, when I do ask questions, they're usually questions that require yes or no. And in this instance, one would be a reflection of you saying yes, and zero would be obviously no. So in an instance like that, if I were to ask you, which I'm definitely going to ask you in the next couple of minutes, is do you know what my analytics is? One would be yes, zero would be no, but we'll get to that just now. And in terms of anyone who wants to basically have a follow-up session to this or have ask any questions or anything like that, please feel free to email support@solidsystems.co.za. What that will do, the automatic generate a ticket, and you'll basically get the support or your request attended to accordingly. And that being said, for those of you that are part of our systems team, you're more than welcome to contact your customer success manager to assist you with that. Any questions before I dive in, or any comments from the previous webinars, or anything you'd like me to address or focus on in this session? Okay, there's still some people trickling in there, which is great. Numbers are going to go up. All right, sweet. Before I go through what I have prepared for you today, I wanted to highlight what we've already covered till this point, just to illustrate the number of topics we've obviously gone through, and also the amount of the value we've tried to add or we've added thus far when it comes to Microsoft Suite. So I'll cover OneDrive Protect. That was in connection with security. Security has become a very, very key component to our remote working environment, or to what people call the new norm. That being said, we moved on to centralized data in the cloud, which is Microsoft SharePoint. And then the following topic to that was Microsoft Teams, just trying to show you how to build collaboration through there, as well as how to basically keep in touch, especially considering the fact that a lot of us are now working from home or working remote. Also, we'd like to refer to Teams as a great platform to keep and maintain the company culture. So the best way, I think I didn't touch on it enough last in the last session, which was building Microsoft Teams into your company culture. So less of picking up the phone, less of sending emails, less of sending attachments or instant messages on your WhatsApp. Through Microsoft, as I mentioned, can build a lot of collaboration, as well as build or have keep the company culture going through Microsoft Teams. That being said, our topic for today is actually My Analytics, which is derived or derived from Microsoft Delve. Our primary focus for this application is to show you how to become more productivity, because a lot of us, especially considering that we're working from home, we're not too sure whether or not we're spending enough time on ourselves, for instance, because a lot of the time it find it very difficult to switch off. A lot of people spend most of the time in front of the computer. When they look up, it's like halfway through dinner already. So this application will basically unpack a lot of things in terms of where you're spending most of your times. And one other feature which I love the most is it also gives us an indication of who you collaborate with the most, and also basically gives you an indication of who you collaborate with the most externally as well. So this works both internally and externally. But one of my two favorite aspects of this, my analytics, it basically gives you an indication of it focus. When I share my screen, the main focus is around focus, is what we call focus time, because in most cases, my Daniel used to always give me an example of, we always like digging this rabbit hole, and we never actually look up to see how far we in that rabbit hole. And just building in focus time into your day gives you a great time to basically sit back, reflect, and say, cool, this is what I've done, this is where I am, this is what I still need to do. You can use that focus time to focus on yourself. And there's also another section on here called well-being. Well-being is primarily designed to recharge, but let me not go too much into depth when it comes to that. Before I dive in, just on the comment section there, please just give me an indication: one, yes, and two, zero. I mean, when you know is zero. Who here knows what Microsoft Analytics is? Okay, there's a zero that came in there. Okay, couple of ones. Okay, so we have a mixed batch. So before I scare you away or make you, I'm sure this question will come up about, am I being watched? So we want to shift the focus of you seeing my analytics or productivity report as what we call Big Brother, but more focused on how you can best collaborate with your team, and how to best collaborate with your team, and not only just with your team, how to give you an indication of where you're spending most of your time in an instance where you want to shift your focus or collaborate with somebody else a bit more, because in most cases you're sitting in a situation where you're spending so much time with someone in your organization, not realizing the fact that somebody else within your organization can provide much needed input in terms of that. And again, it speaks with your company culture. So in most cases you're more comfortable to speak to someone, but this can give you an indication of, oh, okay, cool, I collaborate with this person a lot more, which means that we're driving that collaboration. I see someone's shared their screen. um I think it's Caesar. I'm seeing Caesar's emails. Okay, cool. I'm going to share from my side, so it just overrides your screen over there. Okay. All right. Please do let me know when you see your screen. So as I mentioned, when you can see my screen, can I get a, well, for those of you who have cameras on, can I get a thumbs up? There we go. Thank you, Richard. So if you notice on my screen over here, I'm going to click on my home page. This is what we call Microsoft Delve. What does this mean and what is it? As I mentioned, my analytics basically came from this structure here, where they basically now summarize and categorized everything for you. Microsoft Delve is primarily focused. Let me just do this. I just want to bring this screen alone onto here. Microsoft Delve is primarily designed to manage your Microsoft profile and discover and organize your information that is likely to be most interesting to you right now. What does that mean? For instance, we've been collaborating. Well, this is you'll notice a lot of this information might backdate to a while ago, primarily because now we live in Microsoft Teams, as I highlighted in the previous session that we had. But in it, for instance, it will give you on the far on the left hand side, it will show you the people that you have recently collaborated with, and in terms of the documentation that is involved in that collaboration, whether it's sent in an email or as an attachment or whatever the case may be, it gives you access to all that information at on your fingertips when you access Microsoft Delve. So again, before we get to here, a lot of you probably thinking, how do I get to this page? Again, one of my favorite things about Microsoft, they always try and make life easy for everybody. So a website that's very easy to remember, office.com, click on there, give you a nice suite of the products that you have. Something that I'm also going to touch on is your license. So again, at the end of the day, everything that I'm showing you now is almost directly linked or attached to your license, your Microsoft license. So once you've logged in, you'll get to this nice home page here. A lot of you use this platform or go onto here so that you can access your Outlook. But as I mentioned, Microsoft has basically put everything on one place to try and make it easier for you. So as per the previous sessions, you can either search for it at the top here, typing Delve. It pops up there. You can click on it there, or you can basically click on your apps here, where if you don't see it here, you can click on more apps. Again, it will take you to where you can find the application where I'm referring to here called Delve, Microsoft Delve. So I'm not going to spend too much time on here because our primary focus is Microsoft Analytics. That being said, okay, I see there's some people still coming in there. Okay, cool. I'm not going to spend too much time on here because this is primarily for the correspondence and is heavily focused on your documents or data. Our focus today, again, is my analytics. So whilst that loads over here, I got a couple of zeros there basically saying that they were not too sure what my analytics is or what the purpose of my analytics is. So I want to give you a nice breakdown of what it is. Hold on, I think I just lost my page here. Okay, so as I mentioned before, my analytics focuses on basically gathering your activities throughout your network internally and externally to give you an indication where you're spending most, if not all of your time when it comes to stuff that you're doing within your organization. So a nice summary of what my analytics is, it's basically something that is used to basically gather your everyday information through the Microsoft suite, whether it's your emails, whether it's through your emails, through your Microsoft Teams applications. I'll show you all that in this demonstration now. Microsoft Teams applications, whether you are collaborating through meetings and whatever the case may be, it captures all the data, summarizes it very nicely for you, and then you can also pick a date range to give you an indication of how far you want that data to go. But this is also another feature that is also linked to your licenses. So when I keep referring to licenses, the nice thing again, remember from the start, the whole idea behind these fast learning webinars is to actually show you the value in what you already have. And in this instance, the good news for most, if not all of you here, is that are fortunately already licensed for this product, whether it's through Microsoft Business, Microsoft Standard, your Microsoft E1, E3, and E5 licenses, gives you this feature enabled and part of your Microsoft suite. So if we drill down into this document, but before I do that, actually, I just want to I'm going to bring up my comments section here, make sure that I'm not missing anyone or missing any comments. There we go. Cool. Before I dive into actually analyzing and getting in or inspecting or drilling down into this form, I just wanted to get an indication. Are there any questions or concerns or comments when it comes to what I've covered with Microsoft Delve, transitioning into my analytics? Okay, I'll give you guys like 3 seconds to Shout. Okay, cool. No questions so far. So yes, if you can see and focus on my screen, I'm just going to look to my right a little bit because I've got it broadcast on my right hand side. Big factor. So please, I'm still new in my current position. That is my excuse. So my ratings here might look like I'm more relaxed than actually doing a lot of heavy weighting in the back end. But that being said, you'll notice I have a lot of available focus time, and it's actually good because one of our vision in solid systems is to enable every human within our organization to live their best lives. That also means that you have enough time to focus on what you're actually doing and making sure that you're actually not overworked or overwhelmed. And when we move on to our right hand side here, there's some quiet time, which is a time you can use to disconnect or recharge. We'll drill down into these shortly. I just wanted to show you a quick overview. That being said, there's also a nice indication of your network. By network, it's not referring to your data or your physical network, whatever the case may be. It is referring to the people that you network with, whether it's internal or external. I'll show you that as well. All right, and then we move on to collaboration. This gives you a percentage of the amount of time that you spend in meetings, which is in most organizations, especially when you're working from home, there's a lot of meetings that happen. And it actually breaks it down very nicely to show you it even it's mind blowing how it does it. It even tells you how many of those meetings you missed, how many of those meetings were you on time, how many you started early, how many you had scheduled for the week. But again, we'll drill into that shortly. And then there's some more productivity insights that you can play around with to basically make you more productive and also increase your network and collaboration internally. So if we were to drill down, if I click on focus time on my left hand side here. So in this instance, it says, okay, cool, welcome to my analytics. And in terms of focus time, it says plan for the next 2 weeks. So what this gives you an indication or um, a chance to do to actually plan your focus time. So the nice thing about, again, being on the Microsoft Suite is the fact that it is interlinked to all your other Microsoft products. So if I were to do all my planning in here, all this would sync right back onto my calendar. Somebody were to want to schedule something, whether with me internally, they'd basically see that that time is blocked off for my focus time. We're actually having a a chat earlier on about that focus time. So part of that company culture and part of our values is to ensure that nobody touches that focus time because it's actually there for a reason. That being said, you can also continue to explore in terms of, do you have uninterrupted time to get your work done? And then there we go. Gives you an indication. I have plenty of time to get my work done without anyone interrupting me. And it gives you an indication of the date and when you basically had that time and when, in terms of percentage of collaboration time that you've also logged underneath your calendar, Microsoft Teams application, and so forth. Any questions when it comes to focus? Okay, cool. No questions. I'm going to move on to well-being. Under well-being, this incorporates days of your weekends as well. Uh, Depending on the industry that you're in, sometimes it spills into your weekends, but it also gives you a nice indication in terms of your trends, specifically your quiet time and quiet time lost. So if you look on the right-hand side, it gives you an indication of how many meetings you spend, or well, how many disruptions you had that were caused by your meetings, by your emails, by your chats. You'll notice, I think I have a very bad habit of responding to emails when I shouldn't be, and it basically disrupts my quiet time. Also, some of the chats as well. This is probably pulled from either Microsoft Teams or responding to an email that is linked to a chat in Microsoft Teams. And then there's one of these. This is one of my favorite tabs because now it shows me where I spend most of my time and who I spend most of my time talking to. You'll notice some of the people, again, sorry, if my screen is too small, let me know. I can enhance it a little bit, but let me just do that. Again, another nice feature about Microsoft Teams, if you press and hold down your control button on your keyboard and scroll up, it actually maximizes or increases the size of your screen on your local machine, as opposed to me having to maximize my screen. That being said, going back into your collaboration, you'll see from my emails, people you have emailed, chatted to, or met with in the last 4 weeks. So under my record, I have 70 people, and it also gives you an indication of same amount of people that you've chatted with or met with or collaborated with in the past 12 months. Past 4 weeks is 70. Past year is 200 people. Might seem like a lot, but if you were to look at my analytics for a salesperson, it would be a completely different conversation based obviously on their deliverables. But that being said, also here it gives you a nice indication of who you've been collaborating with in terms of activities, but it also gives you a nice breakdown of who you've been collaborating with externally. You'll notice some of the names have a star next to them there. That's because now they've been highlighted as important contacts. Either people you've been chatting with a lot, or people that have been specifically highlighted by yourself as somebody important that you usually collaborate with. You'll notice here there's a lot of contributing factors to people that have something to do with my salary. So yes, they have been marked as important people I collaborate with. That being said, it also gives you a nice indication of who you've recently been chatting to. You'll notice some of your names are in here based on the fact that I've sent you out those emails with regards to we've covered, as well as the videos and the surveys. Thank you so much for those of you that have completed the surveys. Actually, that I can tell you now they've gone a long way, especially something I've touched on as well with company culture. It's gone a long way in terms of me being recognized within the organization for actually adding this value to you guys. All right. So that's the collaboration when it comes to activities there. I think, let me just see. Yeah. Oh, yes. Another thing that I wanted to show you guys, this is currently in map view. So if I were to turn off map view, it gives you a more in-depth indication of the amount of time you spend with someone and how much time you collaborate with someone. So you'll see there, Richard, we spend quite a lot of time collaborating. And in terms of red percentage, this basically is deprived from either responding to a Teams message, to an email, to a chat, or whatever the case may be. And it also gives you an average response time to how long it averagely takes for me to respond to someone's email, chat, or whatever the case may be. All right, and then when it comes to collaboration, which is our last tab there and underneath my analytics, this basically speaks a lot about your behavior. So what we're trying to drive, what we're trying to push is people are using email attachments a whole lot less and using email links a whole lot more. What do I mean by that? If your data is sitting in SharePoint, which is another Microsoft service that they provide, it basically means that that data is live and can be edited and worked on in real time. If you remember our previous session when we covered SharePoint, I showed you something called co-editing. So especially in organizations where more than one person needs to provide input on one document, what usually happens is that I draft up an email, I worked on the document, I attach it to the email, I send it off. You get that email, you work on that same document, you send it to me. And then this same document needs to go to 3 other people. Now I take that same document, attach it there, send it to 3 other people. 3 people are going to make changes to the same document, send me 3 different versions, and then someone within that whole chain has to collaborate or consolidate all that information and hope to God nobody made a mistake somewhere or nobody messed something up. The nice thing about sending links is the fact that in an email, you can basically send a link that is attached to the live document where you can all collaborate within the same document in real time using co-editing. Any questions there? Okay, cool. No questions thus far. And what you will just bringing the focus back onto the screen that I shared over there. This basically speaks to your habits and your behaviors. And when it comes to that, you'll notice here it gives you an indication of the links that I send. Oh, hold on, let me just do that. Cool. It gives you, when it comes to meetings, how many links I send from meetings, how many meetings overlap, in terms of my attendance, invitation sent, and it also gives you, as I mentioned, it speaks to your behavior, and it speaks to the type of collaboration, the type of person you are. Like, do you send invitations last minute? Do you plan in advance? So it can also help you improve your behavior. And you'll notice here, oh, this is something that also speaks to our company values, which is enabling me to live my best life. You'll notice most, if not all, my meetings, I've got a beautiful 100% rating over here for all meetings that I had within working hours, which gives me peace of mind that when it's Shaila time or knockoff time, I don't have to worry about attending any meetings or whatever the case may be. But it always differs with different organizations based on the fact that you might be collaborating with somebody in the UK, for instance. I know right now they're 2 hours behind, which means that they finished 2 hours early. That does not necessarily mean that it's a bad thing to have meetings outside of working hours. But again, it also depends on who you collaborate with. So you'll notice as well, uh, this also gives me an indication of a bit of a bad habit that I have. Well, it's not too bad considering if I look at the percentage. Like when I'm in a meeting, how many emails do I send? How many emails do I send? Or how many people do I? Or how many chats do I respond to? And in this case, I don't respond or chat to a lot, so that percentage is still relatively high. And again, behavioral thing. The nice thing about this, before everybody freaks out, whatever the case may be, this is your personal My Analytics. Gives you an indication of how you basically behave and react, and an indication of where you spend most of your time. I don't know if I showed you how to get here, but let me just show you again. If we go back to Microsoft Delve, you'll be sitting in a situation where on here you'll see it says My Analytics. If you click on there, it takes you to this page over here. And then it basically, and again, if I remove my habits over there, it can drill down and give me an indication of what meetings is it talking about, and what meeting did I not get there on time, or what meeting did I schedule after hours, for instance. And as you can see there, it can give you a nice breakdown of where you spend most of your times, or which meetings you collaborate with, or you collaborate in. So again, communication habits as well gives you an indication of how many chats you you engage with, how many emails you read, and how many emails you send, and so forth. So again, numbers, numbers, numbers. This whole experience is to give you an indication of your behaviors, as well as where you spend most of your time and how you can improve in terms of your collaboration and your behavior. As you can see on the right hand side here, the nice thing as well is that it gives you suggestions or recommendations. As you can see, time spent in meetings, you typically you typically have 15% of your week spent in meetings. That's about 7 hours per week. 45% of those weekly meetings are recurring. So this, you can basically view suggestions where it can give you indications of how you can better utilize that, and better utilize your time, and how to plan in advance as well. So I'm going to open up the floor again and ask, 1 being yes, 0 being no. Do we all know here what My Analytics is? 1 being yes and 0 being no. I'll repeat the question. Do we know what My Analytics is? Okay, I'm getting a couple of ones. That's great. Just a reminder, this session is being recorded, so it will be made available to you once we've uploaded it and obviously cleaned it up a little bit. Okay, cool. I'm getting a lot of ones there, which is great. So something else we're also going to be touching on slightly is the productivity report. Again, this is insight to your collaboration throughout the organization. This was specifically pointing to you and how you collaborate with other people. What I'm going to show you now is how your organization is doing when it comes to productivity. Again, I don't want to say this or like, if you remember, the new norm, as they would say, is work from home or work remote. Or if I basically have internet, my laptop, I can do my job. That being said, the productivity report is could be great for your weekly Scrum sessions where you basically trying to ensure that one resource, for instance, is not overworked versus another one. What I mean by that is you'll notice now, I'm just waiting for this to load on my side. It's something we call a productivity report. Unfortunately, this is access from the admin portal. So should you need um, any reports that are to do with productivity, as I like this, these reports are primarily for strategic approaches when it comes to making decisions that are around spreading the workload, better collaboration, because you might find that I'm trying to get some time with someone, but they're not available, but there's someone within the organization who has the same skill set and is available, so we can spread the workload evenly. So I'm just going to open that report. And the nice thing about the report that I'm going to show you now is the fact that there's a benchmark. So what you will notice is that on the right hand side here, there's a score. And on that score, it benchmarks that score based on organizations throughout your industry. This is very important to highlight actually, because you can benchmark across, there's a lot of people that use the Microsoft product, but you can benchmark against everyone in the world. But because Microsoft takes the time to analyze your data with you whilst you're working within that organization platform, it can see based on who you collaborate with, whether you're in the IT industry or IT sector, or you're in the resource industry or in a sector like that, or um, what else in your acting or production industry or whatever the case may be, then it benchmark your organization based on that. And you'll see on the side here, there's a score which gives you an indication of where you're sitting when it comes to your score, when it's benchmarked or compared to other organizations. So if way to find this, and as I mentioned, it's within the organization, it's in the administrative portal where um, when you're in there, you just basically click on productivity report and it brings you to this window here. What this window basically covers is communication, meetings, content collaboration, teamwork, mobility, endpoint analytics, network connectivity, Microsoft 365 application health. I don't want to dive too much into this primarily because this is more for the administrator's side for them to build collaboration. The purpose of me showing you this window, and you can have a quick glance at some of the details within this document, but obviously what you're trying to do is obviously within your organization is drive adoption so that the blue line that you see over here is above the gray line, which basically means that you are getting the full value of your Microsoft suite and you're actually knowing you having that collaboration. I'll give you an indication. And the communication is organizations that use a variety of ways to communicate, support different work styles, needs, and preferences. 29% of the people in your organization use two or more modes to communicate. So in this instance, this is this is just for demo purposes, but I can almost guarantee you, if we were to look at Solid Systems productivity report, it's a different conversation because we live inside Microsoft Teams. Again, yes, you'd probably get us an indication of one or two modes to communicate. One obviously being Microsoft Teams. in some instances it would have to be obviously emails. Just obviously keep a chain or centralized communication, either when we have to send it out to customers, whatever the case may be. But in essence, the purpose of all of this is to give you an indication that through the Microsoft Suite, your applications are interlinked, and through that, you can pull data that can help you better collaborate, better plan, looks out for your well-being. You can add in your focus time there where you can actually take a step back and say like, hey, the next hour, let me sit back, see where I am, see where I'm at, who I need to contact, and all of that. And the list is endless. One thing we've also adapted, which is one of my favorites as well, is what we call Microsoft To Do. So in that instance, all that report can also be pulled into this, where you have created 10 different to-dos. Out of those 10 different to-dos, you've completed 5 of them in this week. That can be built into this report. That being said, are there any questions thus far? Okay, no questions thus far. I just need someone to do me a quick favor. Just unmute your mic and say hi, because I feel like I'm alone in this session and I'm I'm just looking at
High level.
faces.
High level.
Yeah, I can hear you guys. I can hear you guys. Cool. That think of that as me. That was my focus time to actually realize. Okay, cool. This is where I'm at now. So I want to show you guys something that Microsoft recently launched. I think they launched it in September, which is Cortana. So this is also depending on your organization's configuration and licensing. But with a show of ones and zeros in the comment section, I'm just going to share my screen and you let me know if you have seen anything that looks like this in your emails. I just want to find one which is a nice example for you guys, which has multiple ones. So what I'm going to show you now is basically what I refer to as my personal PA, primarily because when I send out an email that has specific keywords in it, the Microsoft Smart PA is referred to as Cortana. So when I send out an email that maybe has a question mark in it or has something to do with the follow-up or whatever the case may be, what Microsoft does is that, or what Cortana does is that it looks for those keywords, and the next day you'll have something like a refresher session where it basically asks you, hey, did you actually follow up with that person because you sent them an email saying that you're going to follow up with them? I'm just trying to find a nice example that does that could speak to most of you guys. So there's two ways in which it does this. I'm just going to share my screen again. So there's two ways in which it does this, which is for me is mind blowing. I had a meeting. When was it? I think on Tuesday. I had a meeting on Tuesday. I think, excuse me, it was scheduled for it was scheduled for I think around about 10 a.m. And before that, I got an email saying, and hey, here's something that might be related to the meeting that you're going to have. In the event that you did not get a chance to look at it, here's something that I found. Here's a document that I found that might be related to your meeting. One, you can say basically click done. That okay, cool. I've either reviewed this document or not. And again, remember what I spoke about when it comes to links. This document is linked to the live link that is sitting in your SharePoint location. If I were to click and open this document, it will take me to the same exact document which was shared, and we can all collaborate on the same document. You have an option to open this online. And if you remember from our previous sessions, if you had synced your SharePoint data to your local machine through OneDrive, you can also access it on your local machine. That being said, I can either say, okay, cool, thank you for this, done. I received your message and everything is in order, or I can say it's not related. And by doing that, it also teaches my personal assistant how my behaviors are, and also helps me understand what is related or not related to emails. I just want to scroll down a little bit here and show you some more things that it picked up. But in essence, what I also wanted to focus is this over here. So this goes back to what we spoke about earlier on, which is focus time. So at the bottom of all these emails, what Cortana does is that she, I'll refer her to her as a she. Um, Actually, let me not be sexist. I'll refer to Cortana as they. What Cortana does is they look at your calendar and say, hey, throughout your day, these are the available slots that you can book for your focus time. And by clicking book here, this goes directly to your calendar, blocks off that slot and say, for today, I'm going to be using this as focus time. You don't have to go open your calendar. You don't have to go open whatever and schedule whatever your focus time, because what Cortana has done, went through your diary. You can do, again, as I mentioned, you can plan ahead or you can plan for the day. If you notice, this email I received at 17:18 in the morning, primarily because she knows that my day starts at 8, where I have my first Scrum meeting. So before my meeting, I'm coming in there, I'm ready. My day is scheduled that I know, cool, I have 5 meetings. After those 5 meetings, I'll have my focus time, which I've already scheduled with Cortana. Any questions there? All right, cool. Silence is always golden for me. But it's not golden if you don't understand what I mean, though, which is very important. So just to highlight and end off on a very high note, this is our last official webinar session. But that being said, I'd like to keep the momentum going. I'm going to keep the same available slots for the upcoming month. So which is the first Tuesday of every month and the third Thursday of every month. And I'll send out those time slot with the email that I'll send out after this, that will include the video as well as the rating. That being said, I'm going to share my screen again and just give you a small indication of, and when I say small, I'm saying small because this is the only thing that I can fit onto my screen, which part of the Microsoft suites and the products that it offers. So I'm just going to share my screen again. And don't worry, I'm going to include this. I'm going to include this in the email that I'm sending. I'm going to send you guys. The reason why I'm showing this to you guys is primarily for the upcoming sessions in order to keep that momentum going. I have a couple of topics that I'd like to cover, but it will also be great for anyone that's in this call to highlight or bring up a topic that they'd like me to focus on or unpack in our next session. What you're seeing on your screen right now is what we call the Microsoft periodic table. Most of you are used to or grew up learning about which is the elements of chemistry, but this is what Microsoft has designed to try and make you understand in terms of how the applications are interlinked, as well as how many more, how much more they have to offer. So as you can see here, what we've done and what most of you are familiar or used to, you'll notice here, if I click on Outlook here, it grays out everything else and it shows you what is interlinked with that application. And if I were to go to file and storage, it goes to what we've also spoken about with the SharePoint. SharePoint is linked to OneDrive. OneDrive is linked to Delve, because as I showed you earlier on, Delve is primarily designed to basically centralize the documents that you've collaborated with. And then if I were to go down to employee and data discovery, again, it speaks to what we spoke about as well in terms of my analytics and Delve. So I'm going to send you this link for you guys to play around with, or whatever the case may be. You can look it up. And that being said, you are more than welcome to forward any topics that you'd like me to basically cover or unpack with you. I'm very familiar with Microsoft products, and if it's specifically an application that you'd like to introduce into your organization, we're also more than happy to train on that or to, walk you through it in one of our fast learning webinar sessions. All right, we've got 10 minutes left of the call. We are opening it up. I'm opening it up for any questions, comments, suggestions, feedback, anything. On that note, I'll end it off with one of my favorite sayings, golden. Again, if nobody calls the police station to ask them how they're doing. So if I'm not hearing anything from you guys, either one means I did a very good job, or two, you'll probably call me after this call to just explain something else, which is something that's most welcome. All right, sweet. Again, in previous sessions, I usually ask you to rate the. I usually ask you to rate the webinar within the call, but aside from that, you'll get an email that has those ratings. It literally takes 10 minutes max to just click on that smiley face and just please insert your email address so that we can know who it's coming from when it goes to that rating. That being said, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will be in touch.
Afternoon. Thank you.
All
Cheers.
right. Cheers.